Hey everyone, Betsy here again, and today we are going to graph equations of lines using slope-intercept form. You've already learned a little bit about slope-intercept if you've watched my previous videos, and now it's time to start graphing some of them. So let's get started. So if we're going to use slope-intercept to graph, we need the slope and we need the y-intercept. So that's exactly what we're going to do for every one of these problems. Remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. M is your slope, and b is your y-intercept. Now remember, the b is where the line crosses the y-axis, all right? That's what your y-intercept is. So let's take a look at number one. Y equals 2x plus 3. Now, I know this is a linear equation because the exponents for the y and x are both 1. They're understood to be 1. And that's all we're working with in this playlist are linear equations. So all the exponents for the x and y's are understood to be 1s. So let's take a look here. For slope-intercept form, we want it in y equals. Well, this is in y equals. It's y equals 2x plus 3. The number in front of the x, which is called the coefficient, is 2. That's your slope. And because we're graphing it, we're going to put it as 2 over 1. B is the number that is a constant. It doesn't have a letter with it. It's just sitting here by itself. So B is 3. And again, B is your y-intercept. It shows you where the line's going to cross the y-axis. Now, I want you to think about this. If the slope is positive, this is how I do it. There are other ways to do it, but I try to be consistent with one method. I go up for the numerator and right for the denominator. You can go down and left if you prefer. For the negative slopes, I go down for the numerator and right for the denominator. Again, if you want to go up and left, you can do that also. And sometimes it might be beneficial if your graph is going off of your graph paper. But I'm going to stick to these two when we do these problems today. All right, here we go. So when we graph, we always start with B. So here's B. I'm going to start here every time. So on my graph, I'm going to go to the y-axis, which again is the vertical line. We're going to go up to 3, and we're going to put a dot there. I started at 0. Remember, you got to move to count 1, 2, 3. Now, my slope is positive 2 over 1. So I'm going to go up and right. So from that dot that I already have, I'm going to move up 2. 1, 2, right there. And from there, I'm going to go right 1. Boom, right there. When we connect our first and last dots, we will have our line. Our line is going to go right through there. And remember, a line goes on and on forever. So it's like having arrows on the end. Okay, I didn't put the arrows on the end, but it's understood. Actually, let's put some arrows on the end. So this line goes on and on forever. So that's what it looks like. And in your head, you should be thinking the slope was positive, so the line has to go up. How do I know a line's going up? I trace it left to right. And then it's got to cross the y-axis at 3. And that's exactly what it did. So we're good here. All right, let's go on. So I'm going to erase some of this, make some room for the next one. So our next equation, we have y minus 4. Ding, 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 right away. I don't want y minus 4. I want y equals. So the first thing I'm going to do is go in there and change this so that it's y equals. And how do I do that? Well, we've got y minus 4, so to move the 4 to the other side, I've got to add it. I want to neutralize it on this side. So I'm adding 4 to both sides. When I do that, these are gone, and I've got y equal just what I want. Negative 3/4 x plus 4. So here, my slope, the number in front of the x called the coefficient, is -3/4. And b is the constant, the number without a variable, that's +4. So when we graph it, what do we graph first? Think about it. Yes, we always start here with b. So I'm going to go over to my graph to the y-axis, and I'm going to put a dot at 4. There we go. And we're going to move from that spot. So when I look at my slope is negative. So I'm going to go down and right from that point. So from the point 4 here, from this spot here, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 down. That puts me right there. Then from my new dot, I'm going to go right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That puts me right there. So to get the actual line, we've got to connect our first and last dots. Boom. There we go. So there's our line. Does it make sense? Well, it's crossing the y-axis at 4, which is a good thing, and it's going down. Our slope is negative, the line's going down. I think we did pretty good there. All right, let's go on to the next one. Whew, if you need a break, take a break for a minute. I'm going to erase a little bit. Let's take a look at the next one. I just want to get some of this out of the way so it doesn't look too jumbled. All right, the next one, when I read it, I have 2y, 2 times y equals -5x plus 2. I don't want 2 times y. Remember, we want y equals. So we've got to get rid of that 2. And how are we going to do it? They're timesing, so we're going to divide. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. And remember, your equation, the equal sign separates the two sides. So now, when we eliminate here, 2 divided by 2 is 1, so we get y equals -5 over 2, -5 over 2x. And then we also have 2 divided by 2, which is 1, so +1. Now, our slope is our coefficient for the x, the number in front of the x. And b is our constant, the number without a letter, so it's +1. Now we got what we need, so we're ready to start graphing it. So what am I going to do first? Who remembers? Where do we always start? Yes, we start with b. So we're going to start with b. I'm going to start right here. So we're going to go to our graph, and we'll go up 1 on the y-axis. Boom, right there. There's 1. From that spot, what are we going to do next? We got to look at our slope. Our slope is negative, so I'm going to go down and right. So from my dot, I'm going to move down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to put a dot right there. Then from my new dot, I'm going to go right 2. 1, 2, right there. Now, when you connect your first and last dots, you've got your line. Does the line make sense? Remember, make sure you ask yourself that every time. Does my line make sense? Well, the slope is negative and my line's going down. That's a good thing. It's crossing the y-axis at 1, while our b is 1. It needs to cross the y-axis at 1. So yes, I think we did pretty good there. Always visualize what it's going to look like before you graph it. It'll help you to catch mistakes. All right. Now we got to move on to a little different problem. If you've watched my video on horizontal and vertical lines, that would be helpful for doing the last 2 problems. And if not, I'm going to quickly go over it here anyways. And I will put that card on this video in case you want to go back and watch it. So let's take a look here. We have y plus 4 equals 0. Well, we know we don't want y plus 4, we want y. So I need to subtract that 4. I need to eliminate it on the left side. I'm going to subtract it from the left. I got to go to the other side of the equal sign and subtract it there also. When I do that, they're now neutralized because these are gone. And I get y equals -4. What do you notice about this equation? Yes, there's no x in it. So what we have, and how I like to represent it, is a HOI. HOIs are horizontal lines, their slope is 0, and they only have a y in the equation. So when your equation only has a y, go on the y-axis to -4 here, because it says y equals -4, and draw a horizontal line. And that is your graph for y equals -4. What do you think? Not too bad, hey? All right, let's take a look at the last one. So I'm looking at the last one now. X plus 8 equals 10. This one's really different, isn't it? You didn't even hear me say y, so there's no y in this equation. So again, if you've watched my other videos, if it has no y, I call it a vux. A vux is a vertical line, the slope is undefined, and it only has an x in the equation. So when we graph it, what we do, we first of all got to have x equal, so I got to get rid of that 8 by subtracting it from both sides. Then I'll have x equals. X equals, these cancel, right? 10 minus 8 is 2. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to go to 2 on my line, my x-axis, and I'm going to draw a vertical line. Boom. And that is my graph for x equals 2. So what did we learn in this section? Just a few points I want to go over. If your equation has an x and a y, if it has an x and a y in it, remember, we're talking about exponents of 1 here because these are linear equations. If they have an x and a y in it, the line will be slanted. It'll either go up or it'll go down. If your equation only has a y in it, it's going to be horizontal. And if your equation only has an x in it, it will be vertical. So when you're graphing these, think of that right away. Also start to think, if the slope is negative, my graph has to go down. If the slope is positive, my graph has to go up. Where is it going to cross the y-axis at? It crosses the y-axis at the y-intercept, B. And remember, you can write B as an ordered pair. If you write B as an ordered pair, so take a look up here where B is 3, that means x is 0. Here, B is 4, that means x is 0. So for the y-intercept, x is 0. Just like if you were doing the x-intercept, like here, x is 2, then y is 0. So for the x-intercept, y is 0. For the y-intercept, x is 0. Just some things to start thinking about. And you can see that on the graph here. It's crossing at 2, 0. It's an x-intercept. It's crossing the x-axis at 2, 0. Y is 0. All right. I hope this was helpful. Please leave me some comments if you have any questions or any comments. And I would really appreciate if you subscribe. Have an awesome day. Thank you.